Hey everyone, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. Thanks for joining me for this flip through of my media journal. I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to see, so stick around. Hope you guys are having a great day whenever you get to see this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Jen, and I go by ChappyPlans because this channel began as a planner account, and it has since evolved into all of the stationery goodies, including using them in this media journal from Create with Pen. It's just a blank journal, a grid journal with Tomoe River paper. And I started it at the very, very end of 2023 and have been consistently working in this in 2024. So I wanted to share with you what I have done so far. I don't usually film these videos. I did a little brief intro at one point, but these will be videos that I will be sharing exclusively over on my Patreon Patreon account, which I plan to launch at some point in May, depending how my surgery goes and how I'm healing and all of that stuff. But I wanted to share with you what I've done in it so far because I've been doing a lot and I just needed to update y'all. So in the front, I have just a little title here, title page, if you will. It's just really an excuse for me to play with my stamps in this planner or in this journal. And this was all Distress Oxide ink, which does tend to bleed through. Definitely ghosting, but that doesn't bother me at all. I have my key here, so if I listen to an audiobook, it's pink, physical's orange, movie is yellow, TV series gets two little TVs in green, solo show is like the aqua color, movie theater is blue, and then podcast episodes are purple. Then I've got my totals over here. And I've done quite a bit so far. So one thing I typically do as I am working in this journal is consistently add this little rectangle, which I then outline with the corresponding color for the type of media that it was. So it is a series for TV. It gets green. You know, this was a one-off show. I always like to add a rating and a synopsis, whether it is a movie, show, podcast, or book. This one, because it is a whole season, I just decided to stamp all of these TVs and write the names of each of the episodes with a update on the drama for Vanderpump Rules and just a brief sentence or two about my thoughts. Sometimes I decorate with washi, sometimes I just use markers, sometimes I stamp, sometimes I use Distress Oxide or crayons and water and create different effects. Did this similar thing for the show Echo on Disney Plus. So these were audiobooks I listened to. I believe this was the last I did a process video for this book that I listened to. The next book I read was a physical book, so that got orange, and this was The Lake by Natasha Preston. I only gave it 2 stars. I didn't really care for it. I used a bunch of washi stickers that I felt like kind of went with the theme for the book. Here I'm just playing with Posca pens. Like, it's not very good, but it was just an opportunity to play, and that's what a lot of these pages are. And it's just a fun way to document what I've consumed. I'm not trying to be an artist. I'm not trying to be professional. I'm just having fun. And I feel like that the Tomoe River paper allows me to do that. For some reason, there's something about it that just makes me want to come back and try new things. It's just, I don't know. It's new to me, so that's probably why. I found this sticker really offensive because this is something kids used to do to me in elementary school, middle school, high school. I mean, even as a substitute teacher, if I'm like a couple years ago when I walked into a school building I'd never been in, the kids were doing this, you know, behind my back. And so I wanted to use it. I almost threw it away, but I was like, you know what? This is so reminiscent of the racism I've faced as a transracial adoptee, and so I wanted to include it because it went along with the theme of this book, which is called What White Parents Should Know About Transracial Adoption, an adoptee's perspective on its history, nuances, and practices. And this is by a fellow adoptee and someone I've spoken with in the past, Melissa Guida Richards. And I put my thoughts, I always put a synopsis, some quotes, the genre, how many pages it was, and how long it took me to read it. I listened to the Britney Spears documentary book, The Woman in Me. This was an audiobook, so it was in pink. And then I did a February recap page. So I read 7 books this month. That includes audio. But I think that's really good, especially since February is a short month. So I'm very happy with that, especially because like this is brand new to me. I put my favorite show, which was Echo. My favorite new book for the month was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I watched 2 movies. So books and movies. Then I did a separate banner here. Okay, I broke it down a little more. So shows that I started, Parks and Rec and Love is Blind. Physical books 2, audiobooks 5. So I broke that down. And then next on my list, I did I'm Glad My Mom Died, Weathering and the Collected Regrets of Clover. I have yet to read Weathering or the Collected Regrets of Clover. That was what I was in the mood for and what was up next on my list at the end of February. But those things change as I discover new authors and material that I like. So I did listen to I'm Glad My Mom Died. Absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 stars. So good and very relatable in a lot of ways for me, even though she's not a transracial adoptee, but she endured a lot of trauma. And I have myself. So I really found myself resonating with a lot of the things that she talked about in this audiobook. And her style is right up my alley. Very sarcastic, dry, raw, to the point, doesn't sugarcoat it. So I really loved this audiobook. This one was really, really interesting because I was really hyped to read this book and I was kind of like meh, about it. I gave it 3 stars. It was, it's some people's really, really love Happy Place. Emily Henry's does a lot of fiction novels, romance novels. It touched on mental health, but I didn't think it did a great job of really showcasing it in its entirety. If it's going to be considered that as part of a genre, I don't think it really thoroughly did that, but that's my opinion. And that's the beauty of this. Like Natasha in Your Phone, who I love, she loved this book. She gave it 5 stars. So like, it's totally, in the eye of the beholder, which I love about being able to reflect on media. It's completely personal. I decorated it with some washi, did a lot of writing. It's another opportunity too for me to practice my writing, although my handwriting's not great, but I can read it and that's really all that matters. I always underline my quotes with a drop shadow box using a colored marker that I've already used for this spread. And I also outline it with gel pen. I was in the mood to listen to a couple podcasts, so I did. I listened to The Cost of Code Switching for Fundraisers of Color and The Health Effects of Racism in the Sector, because I'm not a fundraiser. I am a person of color, but I guess in some ways I am, because as PTA president, some of these things do fall under my umbrella of responsibility, but it's definitely not my profession. Definitely didn't go to school for it, and I'm definitely not an expert like Jonah Nye, who is a fellow transracial Korean adoptee and who I've been following on social media for a while, and we were both featured on the same podcast at one point. So I love following certain folks, and if I know they're going to be a guest speaker on something or on a show, I will consume that. And so I wanted to include that media. I loved his quote, which says, "Racism is literally bad for your health. Research shows this." So I always like to put a thought underneath a quote because there's a reason I'm choosing that quote, right? So I just said, yes, when we participate or don't, it is unhealthy. As a victim of it, I've suppressed my own identity just to avoid feeling othered, which obviously is bad for your health. This was my friend's podcast. Katie and Laura have a podcast called Adopting Wellness that I've been on as well, and I needed to catch up on my listening, so I did a little synopsis about that. This one was about Living in Our Bodies, Our Relationship with Food, and the Complexity of Adoption Within the Wellness Space by Rebecca Berg. That was the guest. We watched the new Trolls movie. We'd already seen it in theaters back in December, but we watched it again when Nora had a sleepover, so I just did a little bit of journaling about that, my thoughts about it, some of my favorite quotes. It probably could have been contained on one page, but it's fine. We finished all 3 seasons so far of Parks and Rec in the month of March. So we started in February, finished the 3rd season March 12th. I did synopsi. I don't know, what is the plural of synopsis? Synopsises? Of seasons 1, 2, and 3. I'm obsessed with this show. It's so flippin' funny. So I had to pick one quote, and that was really tough, but I did it. There's nothing we can't do if we work hard, never sleep, and shirk all other responsibilities in our lives. Leslie Knope. Love Leslie Knope. Everyone needs a Leslie Knope in their life, I feel like. So yeah, I didn't like put my thoughts or anything. It's really just a way for me to like document that these were shows that I watched. I read, no, this was an audiobook I listened to. The Guest List. I loved this audiobook, and it's kind of funny because again, it's one that I didn't know anything about it. I'm pretty new to like bookstagram, book journaling, media, anything. Like I'm not a huge reader. I haven't been in my adult life. In my like adolescence and young adult life, read a ton. Since becoming a mama and a wife, not so much. So really this is like me diving back into my love for books and reading, which actually, fun fact about me, was my favorite thing to do as a little kid. Like my mom would punish me by taking away my books because that's really all I did. I had a lot of trauma that I experienced, and so I think I escaped a lot by reading and found it to be a great way of, you know, taking up my time and not having to be present. And so yeah, I loved reading, and now I'm rediscovering that love for reading for other reasons, for leisure, for fun, for education, and all that kind of stuff. So apparently, I say that with like the caveat, all that to say, I didn't know Reese Witherspoon even had a book club. Like I think maybe I did. I saw her show up on my personal Instagram, like during the pandemic. Maybe that's when she started it. I have no clue. You guys probably know. And I'm probably saying 800 million things wrong, but, Lucy Foley is like a popular thriller writer, mystery writer. And I loved this audiobook, loved it. So now I want to listen to more of her audiobooks or borrow them from the library or whatever. Anyhow, loved it. Used my favorite washi sticker book to fill this out. I've showed this a bunch of times. It's from Amazon, and Amy Tangerine is the reason I purchased it because I saw her use it. I love it. It's linked in my storefront if you're curious. It was like $12. I mean, it's amazing. Used Allie Edwards' brand new stamps, Alpha stamps, which I am obsessed with. I'll show you. They are from her. Alphas are awesome. I just purchased them as an add-on to my Stories by the Month kit. Really fun, upper and lowercase, and all the different punctuation stamps as well. The only thing is that my lowercase n is kind of jacked up, but it's okay. Yeah, this is my most recent audiobook. Finished season 6 of Love is Blind. I did start it in the end of February, but I finished it in March, so I include it in March. Just put all the episodes, did a synopsis, wrote my thoughts about it. I thought it was a very juicy season. We watched this as a family because of Winn-Dixie. This is Nora's current favorite movie. We read the book together because she was reading it for like just her everyday reading that she's supposed to do for school. And then her whole class watched the movie because they were also reading it in class. So I think it's so cute because she likes to, whatever her teacher is reading, she likes to then read at home. And then I love that because then we get to talk about it a little bit more, and, you know, I think it helps her comprehend a little bit better. But this book in particular was very easy for her to comprehend. She is at her reading level, so it was fine. But it was always a great opportunity. When she's excited about reading something to me, I'm excited for her. So we read the book together, but then we watched the movie as a family. And so I only gave it 4 stars is still pretty good, but the book to me is almost always better. And so that's why I gave it 4 and not 5. If it was a book review, I'd probably give it 5. I literally just finished this book 2 days ago. Did you hear about Kitty Carr? Again, another book that was loaned to me from a friend of mine who's Nora's old teacher. I call her my book supplier. So the physical book I actually have right here. So you got your little like Reese's Book Club stamp of approval or whatever. It says it's seductive. I don't know if I agree with that maybe as the adjective, but I loved it. I had no clue what I was reading. I honestly didn't even read the inside flap. I just started reading it, and I was a little confused at first, but then when I went back and looked at the inside flap and started reading it again, it gave me the, like, more of a lens to understand. It took me no time at all to read this book. It was the 14th through the 20th, but it's because I only read a little bit at a time over the 6 days. And by the way, I do read insanely fast. Probably because I read so much as a kid. Again, I used some different Ellie Edwards stamps. This time I wanted to use a more bland color. And I've been, for stamping on Tomoe River paper, I pretty much stick to using my Suki Nikko Chalk Versa Magic dewdrops here because they work pretty well without like ghosting or not ghosting, without bleeding. But I kind of miss the juiciness, and I also wanted this like more muted color. So I thought it was probably light enough that it wouldn't ghost or wouldn't bleed, and it didn't. So I'm happy that I used that. I think it's called Old Paper or something like that. So love this book. It was 401 pages. Again, I gave it like the little book icon and the orange color to correspond with my key at the beginning. You know, it's physical book, and I got the little book stamp there. The synopsis, gave it 5 stars. I was thoroughly entertained. I love the way the stories are thoughtfully intertwined, how the author weaves in all of the nuances of racism, colorism, classism, and history. I love the seamless ties between past and present and the little details in between. So far, this is my favorite book of 2024. So I liked this better than, what was the, I'm glad my mom died. Although it's pretty close tie. I gave them both 5 stars. So for very, very different reasons. But the way that Crystal Smith Paul, the author, was able to like, man, there are so many lenses and facets connected, like connections and connections and connections. Not just between like the plot and the relationships of all the different characters, but like I said in my little thoughts here, between all of the different historical aspects and the impact of slavery on like the entertainment industry. It's just crazy the way she was able to put this book together. I don't know how she did it, but I love it. So that's where I'm at with my media journal. Currently reading Not a Happy Family. I'll show you from my book dealer. Sherry Lapina, again, no clue who she is. Don't know, you know, like these are just books that, you know, I've been loaned. Like back in 2023, my book dealer lent me On the Come Up, and I was like, yes, love it. And then the next book she lent me was Verity, loved it. So I was like, okay, well, I trust my book dealer to have good books. So far we're like 3 for 3, right? Because this was an amazing book, and then now I'm working on this one, which so far I really like. I just started reading it though. So yeah, that's my media journal. I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. And in the back I have where I swatch all of my pens and markers and all that. But I'm super excited to keep using this, and I will be sharing, like I said, more in-depth videos on Patreon in the future. Let me know what you guys think of these types of videos and seeing this type of content, because again, it's something new for my channel, but I'm super happy and feel very privileged to be able to share it with you. But that's it for this video. So do me a favor. You know what I'm going to ask you, right? Please give it a thumbs up. It does count. It does help drive traffic to my channel, and I'm trying to grow as a content creator. So super appreciate your support. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and remember that you are enough. Bye, friends.